Rocket star would list the Nets as his top choice via trade if he were to move on from Houston.
Regardless of whether James Harden wants to go to Brooklyn or not, regardless of him making statements or Russell Westbrook not wanting to be there.
So it's one thing to sit up there and say you want out. It's another thing to literally designate a particular team you want to land towards.
How lethal of a scoring combo with Harden, KD, and then, of course, Kyrie be at this stage of their careers?
And then there's Russell Westbrook too, right? I mean, they can bring those two guys back and run back a similar team, or they could trade them both away before the season starts, right? Like it's literally, it could go either way.
On November 11th, Shams tweeted out this statement: Rockets Russell Westbrook wants out of Houston. Shortly after, we got bombarded with a bunch of rumors and potential suitors for Westbrook. The Hornets were interested, the Knicks were interested, because, of course, this is what the Knicks love to do: chase after star players who are past their prime. Oh dear God, just imagine if they traded all their young players away for Westbrook. Regardless, that's not the main issue here. On the same day, Tim McMahon also tweeted out, James Harden and Russell Westbrook have expressed concerns about the uncertainty of the Rockets' immediate future, sources told Woj and me. This is a problem. Ever since coming to Houston, James Harden has been absolutely killing it, carrying the franchise on his back since he got there in 2013. During that time, we've never heard him complain about anything really, at least from a roster standpoint. The Rockets routinely made deep playoff runs. The front office, especially Daryl Morey, fully committed to building around him, and more or less, it's been a success. But now, Morey is gone. Mike D'Antoni left the team. The Rockets' new owner, Tillman Fertitta, seems uncomfortable with going deep into the luxury tax. So the front office is very constrained and struggles to sign better players. And for the first time in his career, James Harden is not pleased with the direction his team is going. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today, let's talk about the issues with the Rockets, a team that's been a powerhouse in recent years, but just can't get over the hump. Let's start off by talking about Russell Westbrook. I've made many videos of him in the past, but generally speaking, I thought his first year in Houston was pretty good. As the secondary option, he had a lot more breathing room, a lot more space to create better shots for himself, as evident by his increased scoring efficiency. Despite his great play, the Rockets finished with the worst winning percentage they've had since 2016. In all the seasons since then, statistically, every metric points to the Rockets being better without Westbrook. They flat out are just better when Harden ISOs, while 4 other players stand at the three-point line waiting for the pass. Even though this style of play has drawn heavy criticism over the years, it honestly worked very well for them. Morey ball, as it's called, has been a successful experiment, regardless of what the doubters say. This begs the question, does it really matter if Westbrook wants out? From the Rockets' perspective, this might be a good thing. Although it seems like Westbrook fit in quite well, his contract is ridiculous. 5 years, $200 million for any aging point guard is a bad deal. If the reports are true and Westbrook does indeed want out, then that's fine. The problem is, can the Rockets actually trade his massive contract? I'm not sure, but I'll tell you what, there's going to be some team somewhere that's gonna offer a massive overpay for Westbrook. And the Rockets will be super happy to deal him if the opportunity arises. The next problem is something I touched upon earlier. For so many years, the Rockets have been the James Harden show. While the Warriors rose into prominence through a team-oriented motion offense with so many players cutting and passing and sharing the ball, the Rockets went the completely opposite direction. You have Harden with the ball, 3 guys standing on the perimeter, and 1 big man to run the pick and roll. That's it. That's been their go-to game plan for a long time. I mean, it's been kinda working, but it doesn't sit well with the rest of his team. For the fans, it's boring to watch, and for the role players, it's become miserable. Multiple players came out and voiced their concerns throughout the 2019-20 season. Quote, former teammates have described the culture in Houston as problematic, sources said, highlighting a situation that caters far too much to its stars. PJ Tucker, the undeniable glue of the team, has been irate over his contract situation all season long. Eric Gordon, who won 6th Man of the Year in 2017, endured a difficult season from an injury standpoint, but was also not pleased with how his role and importance had diminished since the 2016-17 season. Daniel House was another player who wasn't pleased with his usage and involvement in the offense, and has verbally challenged D'Antoni, Harden, and Westbrook this season. At times, Austin Rivers was unhappy with his inconsistent playing time and utilization. In one instance, Rivers went on an expletive-laden tirade following a game where D'Antoni called for him to be substituted. While all of this may seem like a new issue, it's not. This tension has been piling up over the years and finally reached the boiling point. The guys who've been around for years gradually became more and more frustrated, especially in an already turbulent 2020 season, where the Rockets endured so many highs and lows. Harden himself should be held accountable too. Everyone from Dwight Howard to Chris Paul to Russell Westbrook, it seems like there's always some issues that come up between him and his co-stars. This is something that people don't talk about enough. Maybe Harden is too demanding, maybe playing with him isn't fun, and maybe he just doesn't get along with people as well as we think. Man, we've always criticized LeBron for not getting along with his teammates or his co-stars in the past, but Harden hasn't been criticized nearly as much for that. Perhaps we should have the same expectations for him too. On top of this, he's been testing the waters, definitely talking to other players and mulling over his decision to stay. Apparently, there's been reports from ESPN that Harden has expressed interest in Brooklyn. Possibly a reunion with KD, a new super team with Kyrie? Kinda weird for him to bail this quickly, since Harden is the reason the Rockets traded for Westbrook in the first place. But at the same time, I understand why he's frustrated. With Daryl Morey gone and the team's shoddy front office and owner, plus zero progress in recent years, it's no surprise he's starting to get fed up. Plus, some of the trades they made in recent years had no other purpose but to save money. Letting go Trevor Ariza was a cost-cutting measure to get out of the luxury tax. The same with trading away Brandon Knight and Marquise Chris, and of course, getting rid of Clint Capella. While the Rockets did improve by fully going small, the lack of good big men hurt them against the Lakers in the playoffs. They were way too small to do anything. All of those decisions were made with the sole purpose of saving money, nothing else. Sometimes the only difference between teams is how much the owner is willing to spend. The ones who go all in, like Joe Lacob of the Warriors, will see better results than someone like Tillman Fertitta, who wants to save as much money as possible. That's what he wants, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. But let's look at a situation where the Rockets stay intact. For the last few years, we all know the Warriors have been their kryptonite. From 2015 to 2019, 4 of their playoff losses was because of the Warriors. In most years, if the Warriors did not exist, Harden would have a couple of rings by now. Unfortunately, their championship window overlapped with the Warriors' dominance. But now, it's the Lakers and Clippers and other rising Western Conference teams rapidly improving, while the Rockets have fallen behind. Harden, Westbrook, and most of the core players are on the wrong side of 30. This team simply doesn't have it. Their tried and true game plan have worked well in the regular season, but becomes painfully predictable in the playoffs. In fact, any star-centric, ISO-heavy offense has a much harder time when defenses actually plan for them. If the Rockets make absolutely zero changes to the roster, then they'll be stuck in the same spots. A deadly playoff team that just doesn't have the extra juice to push themselves over the best teams of the league. Anyway, that's all folks. That sums up the harsh reality of the Houston Rockets, a team desperately fighting for the championship. But at this point, we know it's not gonna happen. Not with this core of players. It's not like we'll see any major acquisitions either, since they're very hesitant on extending past the salary cap. What are your thoughts on their current situation? Do you see the Rockets imploding in the near future, or will they ride this out with Harden? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.